What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we're gonna get into the bug stuff that I have been doing the last couple weeks. Kind of more unfortunate stuff has happened recently. I have just got done putting hardwood floors in my entire house, and then 2 weeks ago, the water heater decided to split wide open and flood my entire living room. So ruined a whole bunch of flooring that I just got done doing. And then the bathtub stopped draining. So ended up having to rip out the bathtub, a whole bunch of tile and all that stuff. So still working on all of that, getting all that stuff sorted and all that. So haven't been able to really work on the cars as much as I wanted to the last couple weeks. I know I'm trying to get into the every week video again. Promise it's coming, guys. Just seems like one thing after another has happened. So finally think I'm getting things on track again. The new job is working out awesome. It is way better, way less stress. Everything kind of flows a whole lot better. I have help. So everything's starting to get back into a rhythm, which is awesome. So a couple things on the bug. Steering stuff was still on back order. I just got the email this morning that my steering parts have shipped. So those parts are on their way. We'll get the steering stuff completely finished off. We're going to get into some brakes on this. Next week's episode will be on Ryan's car. So I know a lot of you guys have started following because of Ryan's car, the 6-cylinder Volkswagen Ghia that I am building. I have a ton of parts here for that. So we're going to start jumping into that, getting that as far along as we can, as fast as we can. That way he can have his car back. So that'll be next week's video. But let's go ahead and hop into the bug video and hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so since I am redoing my brake lines, I'm going to redo this one, and I'm actually going to redo this one. I ordered fittings to get rid of this section here on both sides, or actually all four corners of the car. So I found some straight pieces straight couplings that'll go from the brake caliper to the soft line and delete the hard line right there in the center of that. One of my biggest things was filling up brake fluid. Pain in the butt. Not easy to get to because the reservoirs are down under there. So decided to make this closeout panel that closes all this section out. Kind of hides the hoses and all of that stuff there. But the closeout panel will actually be a box just like this. It's got an angle so it'll dip down around the steering column. I got a flat section here on the bottom. So I'm going to make this out of stainless. And then I'm going to put 2 AN, 6 AN bungs on the bottom side of this. That way I can run hoses from here down to the lids of the masters down there. And then I also ordered 2 1 3/4 fill pieces. So that'll have a cap. It's the same exact cap that's on the actual reservoirs themselves, but they're welded bungs. So each one, I'll have one on this side and one on this side, and then I'm going to put a divider in the center of this whole thing, so it's 2 separate reservoirs, kind of. But that kind of closes everything up. closes everything up, makes it a lot cleaner. I'll end up welding a bracket on the side there and put some riv nuts down here and probably 2 over here. I am going to run another bulkhead here, probably right here, that runs up to the fuel return hose. This is a vent. I'm probably going to move the vent somewhere else, better location. I'll probably put a filter on it, all of that. And then eventually when I swap fuel pump stuff, then I'll run a return hose and a supply hose here and run the vent down somewhere outside of the car. That way don't get any fuel fumes in the car at all. So I'm gonna start cutting this out of stainless, and then should be pretty good on that. Once I get the parts, I'll get all that stuff welded in, and hoses, all of that stuff is on order as well. So start knocking this out. Another thing I've been working on today, you can see I got the modeling clay out. This is just some cheap dollar store modeling clay. It actually works really, really well with fiberglass stuff. So you can see that there's the lower scoop, and you can see the steering shaft goes right into it. Since I'm going to change this up, I'm going to have a bar that sits up here, back a little bit. So I wanted to seal that section of the scoop off. That way air couldn't get down into underneath the fuel cell. So I went ahead and taped it up, and then did some modeling clay on the outside to kind of get the shape that I wanted. I still have to smooth it out just a little bit. Of course, it's not going to focus. But you can see I got the basic shape here. So I'll go ahead and do some partle paste on this. So the release wax over top of just the clay. And then I'll go ahead and fiberglass this section in here. And then once that fiberglass is done drying, then I will pop this off, and then I can peel all of the modeling clay out from the back side. That way it'll leave me with this shape here. Won't have any interference or nothing like that. The steering shaft itself is probably actually gonna drill in back here and go through this section here. So that'll be out of the way, won't allow air to flow into the actual underbelly there. So this is gonna work out pretty darn good. It'll be really cool. Like I said in another, I think the last video, I'm probably just gonna use this as a mold and make a carbon part of it. So the actual carbon part will actually give me just a tiny bit more room than what I have now. So that's why I kind of just laid some tape in there and did a little thin layer of modeling clay. I didn't want it too bulky when I go to make the carbon part. So we'll go ahead and fiberglass this up, and then I can switch over and do the driver side scoop. I'll end up doing the same thing on the driver's side that I did here, and then the fronts should be ready to make in carbon. So pretty cool little nifty trick. Okay guys, so I got my other intercooler fan in the mail today. Also got 4 straight 6AN fittings. I got 2 feet of hose. I got my bulkhead and my 2 extra fittings for the fuel return line that comes up. I'll drill that in there. The 6AN lines will go from the brake fluid and clutch reservoir that I'm building down to the cylinders. So we'll go ahead and
get the fan installed, and then I'm waiting on a couple other parts to come in to do the brake reservoirs, and then we'll get into that, and then we'll start remaking these brake lines down here. Probably going to adjust some of the fuel system stuff down here to make a little bit more room. And then we should be looking pretty good on that stuff. Went ahead and got that bulkhead fitting in there. So did it off camera. It was just kind of a quick and easy thing. So the only thing that I did was drilled a hole in this section here, put that bulkhead fitting in there, cut the hose in half, and then slap 2 fittings on here, a 90 and a straight. So the 90 comes off of here, goes down into that bulkhead fitting, and then from there it goes down into the center tunnel, which runs all the way back to the motor. The vent line here runs up and goes into the flip over vent. So I don't like the fact that these fittings sit so tall. They sit kind of above chassis level a little bit. So once I get the different fuel system that I'm thinking about running, I'm gonna do probably an in-tank surge tank. That way I don't ever lose fuel pressure, or I won't have any fuel slosh. Those fittings will actually reach over into this, so it'll be a bigger hat on there. It'll have 3 tubes off of it, 1 for vent, 1 for supply, 1 for return. So I'll probably have to get different fittings later, probably some straight fittings. Those will go into that system, and that will actually put the fittings underneath the chassis and underneath the strut bar. So that'll be kind of cool. Another thing that I got in the mail today is my screw-on caps for the reservoirs for the master cylinders down there. So I'll have one of those on each side of the steering column once I build that box. And then I am waiting on 4 more pieces. So I got some bulkheads that'll run down into the lids of the master cylinders, and then I have some stainless steel weld-in and bungs that will weld into the bottom of the tanks. And then we'll get all of that stuff set up, get the hoses cut, installed, all of that, and then we'll go ahead and move on to getting the brake lines, the stainless steel brake lines remade, and I also got the fittings for the calipers on the way as well. So we'll get all that stuff installed. Everything's starting to look pretty darn good. Everything's starting to work together. So we'll keep moving on all of this, get it all nice and pretty, and then we'll start digging into the rest of the chassis and all that. So let's keep plugging away at everything and getting it all ready. Well, after 2 failed attempts of making this dang thing, went ahead and just off camera welded this one out. It actually took me quite a long time to get this right where I want it and how I wanted it. So really turned out actually a lot better than I was hoping for. Originally I was trying to use, I think it was 18 gauge or 20 gauge stainless. Did not work out whatsoever. I kept getting leaks and all kinds of stuff, and then I tried another one, and that one just was not sealing either. So this is a sheet. I had a sheet or a small sheet of I believe this is 16 or 14 gauge stainless. Went through, welded it all up. Yes, it is definitely overkill. I mean, this box, you could run it over with a truck and it probably wouldn't do anything, but it all worked out really good. The top flanges work really good. So those just unscrew and screw in. I am going to order little tiny filters. They're like 1/8 inch NPT brass filters with little tiny elements on top. Just that way the brake fluid has some in and out airflow movement. You can see went out of the bottom with 2 6AN lines. Those run down to bulkheads that sit on top of the lids. I did seal those in, epoxied the threads. That way those will never ever come loose. So those turned out really, really nice. Everything works out great. Went ahead and did wrinkle black paint on it. It turned out okay. I might touch it up later when I'm doing all the rest of the stuff. I added flanges onto both sides. You can see this one's notched out for the fuel stuff. I'm gonna end up doing some riv nuts into the actual chassis to bolt it down and hold it into place. This hood will cover up the hoses and close that gap. That way it kind of just finishes it off. I'll probably end up getting a rubber bushing or rubber sleeve that goes around here. That way there's no vibration in between the icebox and that. So all of that turned out good. I think the next thing on the list will be some new steel braided lines. I'm probably gonna take the line lock system and turn it 90 degrees. That way all the fittings come out of the bottom. Because right now I was having a hard time bleeding my passenger side brakes. So I think that is due to this line here comes up across and then down underneath the fuel cell and then comes back up and then down. So I think what's happening is I'm getting air in the line in these sections here, and it's not allowing the fluid to freely move through it. So I think it's getting air pockets. So I'm gonna turn that 90 degrees. That way everything comes out of the bottom. I'll probably take both of these brake lines. So you can see that this one kind of comes up and then comes back down as well. I think I'm gonna go down on both of them, follow the pan down there on the bottom, and then go up into the brake line. That way, the highest air point will be the top of the calipers. I filled this up with brake fluid, and the second I did it, I had this line off and it automatically started gravity bleeding this brake caliper. So obviously this definitely helped my situation quite a bit. So that, and it'll just make it a billion times easier to fill it full of fluid once everything's in the car. With the icebox and stuff in here, I had to run almost like a trans fluid pump to pump fluid into these. And with the paint and everything, I didn't want to risk getting brake fluid all over the paint and eating away all the paint. So this will work a whole lot better. As you can see, I am probably going to touch up all of this paint because there are a couple little chips here and there. I will probably do that once I paint the rest of the roll cage. I'll pull the body off, paint the entire cage again. I think I might add in probably a little bit more flake, but we'll see. So that's one big, huge, massive hurdle. The steering stuff is actually still on back order. I ordered that like 2 months ago. They are having problems with the fittings. Their manufacturer that supplies them to them have messed up the threads on a number of orders, so they're trying to work that out and get me my parts. So as soon as those come in, the steering's done, and hopefully the brakes will be done by then. And then everything else on the car is pretty much cosmetic. The only thing mechanical left will be the wiring harness. So we'll go ahead and finish up these brakes. Saw me just install the new brake lines. So you can see them down there. Just run across, go up into the line lock there. Same thing with the other side. Drops down, runs around, goes underneath the radiator line and into there. Also got the brake adapters in there, or the stainless steel brake line adapters in there. So that's all good. On both sides, got everything all screwed in. Got the line lock flipped. Went ahead and filled it up full of fluid. And no leaks. So I'm already better off than what I started with, since that one over there leaked last time. I'm not gonna know if it helped bleeding the brakes until I bleed the brakes, but I have a feeling that it's probably going to be a lot better. So I'll bleed the brakes and let you guys know how that turns out. Alright guys, so that's all I have for you on this video. Very excited that the brakes are completely done now. I still have to put the rear fittings in and bleed the brakes, but other than that, everything seems to work and function properly so far. So still no leaks, which is awesome. Like I said in the beginning of the video, my steering stuff is coming in, so we'll finish off the steering stuff. I'm also going to order a bunch more wiring and a couple other things. So we'll get into that stuff. As soon as all the mechanical stuff on the Bug is working, then we'll go ahead and tear the body off of the chassis again, finish up all the little tiny stuff in the cage work that I need to do, add gussets here and there. We'll paint the floors, paint the rest of the chassis, we'll paint the suspension again, and then we'll start digging into some body work and getting the body painted, and we'll put it all back together. So it is getting very close. Biggest thing has been wiring and getting all the mechanical stuff situated. So
now that all this stuff is starting to work out, we'll start getting further along on the bug. It should hopefully not be too much longer, I hope, as long as all my parts come in when they should. Ryan's car, like I said, I have a ton of parts here, and we got a lot of work to do. So we're gonna hop into that and hopefully knock out a bunch of stuff in the next video. Until that one, peace out, guys.